Hey everyone, how's it going? So, Black Ops 4 Zombies mode was divisive to say the least. The fans have put the game through scrutiny since the game's life cycle ended, and really since the launch of the game. And with the release of Black Ops 5 around the corner, we should do one final autopsy on Black Ops 4 Zombies mode in the hopes that this never happens again. So I've got 5 things that Black Ops 5, or whatever the title of the next game will be, absolutely needs to get right. If they don't get these right, the game is not going to be good. They could maybe miss the mark on 1, maybe 2, but if they don't get any of this right, it'll be ugly. So the first thing Black Ops 5 needs to get right is the launch. Black Ops 4's launch was a disaster. There's no beating around the bush on this one. It hardly functioned in most areas, the balance was way off, and let's not forget about the dreaded blue screens. The launch of the game put the game's post-launch plans on permanent hiatus, and that crippled the game mode. In fairness, most AAA games nowadays launch with a lot of bugs. I don't like it, but that's the reality we're living in. But Black Ops 4 stepped over the line a little bit. It was too unpolished for people to accept. I'm not saying the game needs to be perfect on launch, that would be unrealistic. But the game has to work on launch. The bar is set really low on this one. But it was so frustrating on launch, and that's why it had to be on the list. And on a related note, let's get some consistent updates post-launch. We don't need daily or even weekly updates, but we can't have months go by with absolutely no changes in the game. The second thing Black Ops 5 needs to get right relates to those post-launch updates, and that's communication. The early stages of Black Ops 4 were notorious for the complete silence from Treyarch while they were fixing the game. The game launched. The studio went into crunch mode after having just got out of crunch mode during the lead up to the game, and they went completely silent, which quite frankly, I'm okay with. I'd rather have them get stuck in and focus on fixing the game's problems than messing around on social media. But would it have killed them to just tell us that's what they were doing? Just take 5 minutes to tweet, hey, we're busy fixing the game right now, so we might not talk as much. Or something along those lines, because we didn't hear anything from them until they just randomly dropped the first DLC, and we didn't get those proper update videos until a few months after that. And even those weren't extremely consistent from what I remember. It's a small detail, but it's extremely important. And when all of your fans are telling you to open up, and the biggest voices in your community are telling you to open up, you might want to look into it. Just look into it. The third thing Black Ops 5 needs to do is focus on gameplay more than the story. Since Jason Blundell took over creatively for Zombies, the focus has slowly shifted from the gameplay to the story. And that's not a dig at Jason. He's done the best he could with the story he was given, and has done his best to create an entirely new one. But the gameplay has suffered as a result. Started out pretty good in Black Ops 3, in fact it was the best in the series in my opinion, and the story also had center stage. But in Black Ops 4, the story had too much focus and the gameplay had too little. I get the drive to tell a story, but we are playing a game here, and that game has to be enjoyable to play. Most of us got into Zombies before there was any real story. I started playing with the on-disc maps in World at War and Black Ops, and there wasn't a story in those maps. Certainly not in the way the story is now, but those games were still great because the gameplay was great. And that's what Black Ops 5 needs to do. The fourth thing Black Ops 5 needs to do is rework the perk system. The perk system was without a doubt the most controversial change in Black Ops 4, and I understand why they did it. Getting rid of those crutch perks like Jug and Quick Revive will be healthy for the game in the long run. I will give credit where credit is due. That was a good change. However, they went about it in the worst possible way. Did they really think that people would just A, accept having their favorite perks completely removed, and B, only having 3 hits worth of health maximum at launch? It did improve over time. I liked having Quick Revive just built into your character in solo. Having Speed Cola as a bonus for getting all 4 perks was a great way to bring that aspect back into the game, and we did eventually get more health. And while we're talking about things that I liked, modifiers were a great addition that added a bit more depth to the game. However, the way they brought the extra health back made you just a little too strong at the beginning of the game, and we'll talk about this more later, and spending an extra 10 grand on Pack-a-Punch per gun for the equivalent of double tap was not a great implementation. And we haven't even talked about the perks they did bring into the game. They took out crutch perks from previous games, but added perks like Time Slip, Dying Wish, Stone Cold Stronghold, and Victorious Doris. They just replaced all of the crutch perks they got rid of. Every class I see people using, including the ones I create myself, are using one or more of these 4 perks along with Stamina, which I don't think is a crutch perk, but is used very often, so I'm gonna mention it. There's plenty of perks other people use, for sure, but it's really not all that different from what people used in previous games. In previous games, people did use more than just the original 4 perks and Stamina. But the worst part about the system, and the thing I want fixed more than anything, is the way we selected our perks. Why do we have to lock in our perks before the game starts? That kills any improvisation that might happen mid-game. I can't count how many times I've started a game of zombies not knowing at all what I'm gonna do until I was in the middle of the game. You can't do that in this game. You have to select your perks before a game starts, and that informs the way you're going to play. You can't jump into a game thinking you're gonna run around the map and decide you want to camp instead. You'd have to restart the game to do that, which is ridiculous. And that leads me to the number one thing Treyarch needs to do, and that's get rid of Create a Class. Not rework it, get rid of it. Create a Class was a cool idea in theory. I think everyone who played zombies in the past has had the thought, wouldn't it be cool if they took Create a Class from the multiplayer and put it in zombies? We've all had that thought. I've had that thought, but the way it was implemented completely destroyed the game. Every decision you make during the game, everything you do, the major decisions that determine how far you're gonna make it in the game, are made before the game starts. Once you make your class, your strategy is locked and it cannot change. You are essentially stuck on rails until you either quit or you die. You can't just jump into a game and play and figure things out as you go. You have to go into a game with a plan and you're forced to stick to it for the entire game. And I know there are things like secret sauce, but that adds an element of randomness that is just well beyond anything that any game should have. That would just be completely frustrating to do that for every game. That is not a good solution, so don't bring it up. There's no casual play in this game. I'm not talking about casual zombies fans, although they were completely alienated here too, I think. I'm talking about playing the game just for mindless fun. You can't just jump into a game because you got off work and want to relax. You have to be carefully planning out your strategy before you even start the game, and that kills what should be, at its core, a casual experience. Another part of the game Create a Class kills is the way the game progresses. I'll give you an example. In Black Ops, you spawn in with a pistol that you really couldn't take past round 5, unless you pack-a-punched it, some grenades, and a knife. That's it. You had to survive by buying weapons, opening doors, getting perks, and doing whatever it is you do over the course of a game to get stronger. In Black Ops 4, you spawn in with one of several weapons, most of which can carry you past round 15, Brave Fires, which can kill a horde of zombies at any round, twice as much health compared to Black Ops, all of your consumables just a push of a button away, and a specialist weapon. You know that thing that you'd spend the first 20 plus rounds of your game trying to get in Black Ops 3? Yeah, you spawn in with that now. Do I need to explain why this is a problem? In Black Ops, you're concerned about going down early in the game. There's a real possibility that you can get double hit early in a game and go down, and lose one of your quick revives, or end the game entirely if you forgot to buy it. In Black Ops 4, I don't think about going down early at all. There's no tension in those early rounds, because you're so overpowered. But I'll stop here before I go into a whole rant on Create a Class and how it affects the game. I could honestly make an entire video just on my gripes with Create a Class. If you'd like to see that, let me know, but that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you soon.